So I've been trying out that the integration instrumentation test. Is it let's able to do that thing on a live on a project? Because before you write up the whole test, it takes a lot of time to do the instrumentation test. From my encounter with it,
Um, so you are talking about the espresso tests that are sort of doing the interactions, right?
no, not even the espresso, the the integration testing. That's the one with the normal compose library.
Hmm.
So it seems to take a lot of time. The espresso seems to be faster
Yeah, I mean the
than
test,
that.
but still we are talking about the interactions, right? Those tests, like
Yeah,
they are
yeah,
now, there is no espresso. They are based on espresso, like the same or similar API. It's just Compose API.
yeah.
But yeah, they do interactions. I don't know why you have that experience. Actually, they tend to be quite fast, I would say.
Oh, okay.
Actually, we
If
can
it's
give a
espresso, I'm
try.
okay, but but dealing with compose seems to be time consuming. Like before you write up the robots and start, take some time. So, and I think the Android Studio is trying to catch up because let me share my screen and show you an example. I can do screenshot tests with my studio currently. Let me just show. Let me start up my studio. Android Studio has a feature you can just take screenshot tests. It even gives you if you have accessibility issues, it even notifies you. So I think I'll just stick with the unit test for now. Then later I'll just do my UI test on them. Excuse me. To be on a fast because what I think that espresso does, it just takes a snapshot of the current state of the screen. Then if there's any new change made, then when you verify, if there's a breaking change, it notifies you.
Hmm.
If there's no breaking change, works properly. So screen.
Yeah, we can also run. We have some UI tests here in the project that we are working. We worked on those some time ago. Maybe at this point they might not run. I don't know if they need some updates because I haven't
Okay.
checked recently. But you can also look into that.
Yeah, I'll look into that. So I just want login screen, login page. So on Compose, if I just preview parameter providers.
Okay.
So preview parameter provider. Once I just give the composable my various view states, it uses those view states to generate a preview. So this is how the let me open. Let me move to my bigger screen. I think it's sorry.
You can also close the logcat.
Oh,
So what is this login
I'm on a
page?
smaller screen. That's why. So this is I just wanted to show you the preview parameter provider. So this is preview.
Yeah, it is
Let
a
me move to
preview,
a
right?
bigger screen. Sorry, screen. I'm on a bigger screen. So you can see my previews are returning. I have this is a login preview.
Hmm.
So this is a class that encompasses that extends preview parameter provider. So
Right.
with that preview parameter provider, I can provide my various view states.
Okay.
So with these view states I provide, it gives me a list of all these are the so you can see these are the various states of my screen.
Yeah.
So I can also take a snapshot. I can also do a screenshot. Let me take up one. So let me do this. Let me do someone that a one that will give me issue. So when I come to it's you start UI check mode. So you just yeah. So you can see it's bringing out some of the issues with composable. So the so you can see there's it just and see button is specially hidden in layouts, composable is specially hidden in layout mode. That's because I've not screen is not yet adaptive. So insufficient color contrast for blind users, insufficient text curve ratio. So you
Okay.
just takes various screenshots in sorry. It takes like a screenshot in the various states the screen is supposed to be on, highlights the challenges. Let me zoom in so you can see this. So
Yeah.
So I think they are trying to adapt the previews to do most of these UI checks.
Yeah, essentially, they run through different previews, like with bigger fonts, with smaller fonts, how it looks like
Yeah,
when a blind person is looking at it. So yeah, like you can take a look and figure out if you can
yeah,
do additional fixes.
yeah. So my best bet is to go with the espresso. But espresso, sorry, I said espresso. What's the name of that library again? Uh,
We can name them interaction or interactive tests because they do clicks on
yeah.
buttons. But I don't know what do you want to achieve. I did not understand that part. Do you want to achieve like
I'm saying,
screenshots or?
I'm saying instead of for me it takes time to write this UI interaction test and UI test.
Of
So I'll
course.
just go with the unit test. Then later I'll come back and do my UI test. Since I can just take a screenshot with this, I can do this. I can use this for the meantime
Yeah.
to spot out specific UI issues.
Yeah. So you can write tests like if you run let's say if you write screenshot tests. You don't have to do additional writing because there are plugins these days that can scan through your modules and they can find composable functions with preview, like those that are annotated with preview, and then it will generate a screenshot out of it. Or if you want, you can actually move them into or write them yourself into the test package by copying and pasting the preview function. That also works. And then it will generate screenshots. But what that will
Okay.
prevent you from doing is, how the tests are going to work is that if, for example, you tend to change something in the screen and you had a screenshot of it, and when the change
Mm-hmm.
is sort of um, differs from the previous screenshot, it's gonna tell you that in that case the test will fail. It's gonna tell you this is supposed to look differently according to this picture that we have. The current
Oh,
picture is
okay.
this. You had this picture; they don't match. Um,
Okay.
that's how the screenshot tests work. But they cannot prevent
Okay.
from. They cannot fix your this report here.
Okay.
On the other hand, if you have the interactive tests or the tests that you are usually putting in the Android test folder, those are
Yeah.
those tend to do interactions with the UI. So they couldn't really they are not checking against misbehavior in terms of this button is moved or this button is not aligned properly. They can either find a node on the screen, which like your button is one node, for example. And then when the test runs, you can say find node with text login or yeah, login here. Then if it can find it on the screen, it's good to go. Then it will perform the action on it. But if you move the button, the test will remain working because the functionality is still there. It's irrelevant for that test whether the button is aligned properly or not. Does it make sense? Hello? Shafak, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hello. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I can
So
hear you right
I
now.
thought it's I am I thought my internet connection broke, but could be
Okay.
Uduak.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So how are you doing?
Sorry, once again.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine also. Thank you.
Good to hear.
Yeah, yesterday I went to that GDG in Munich.
Oh, all right. How was it?
Yeah, it was good.
Did you meet
So there were
Sergio?
two. Yeah, I met with Sergio. I told him about you also.
And what did he say?
So at the beginning he was a bit confused. So I told him the job from Netherlands is also Android engineer. So after that he recognized you and then we had interaction. I told him about that I am also learning TDD from in, from the school platform as well. And he gave a talk about CPTDD,
Yeah.
composable preview, and that testable development. It was quite interesting as well. And there is another talk from Aishwarya. She is also an Android engineer. She gave about Android core like HAL architecture and Zygote and all the IPC binder processes.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
that is quite high level actually. Just overview of how the things are under the hood. That's it. Uh, not much. Uh, because it's just having a recap what you know actually, right? So yeah, that's it. But Sergio's talk was actually he gave some example as well how the things are working and all, and also he did the comparison between paparazzi and the Android composite preview and some robo-electric test libraries also there, right? So everything was there.
Roborazzi.
Yeah, robo-razzi, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know the talk. He gave that talk in other conferences as well, and he recorded that. And
yeah,
he also asked me for feedback. So I was watching maybe a week ago that presentation, and indeed it is very nice. And
yeah,
yeah, his approach is nice. And
mm,
actually, he mentioned probably what we were just speaking now with Uduak, that those plugins that he was explaining yesterday, you don't
yeah,
need, especially the one that he's working on, you
mm,
don't need to move your composables. It can detect them throughout your modules. So it will find all the composables that are having preview annotation. It will generate screenshot tests for them.
yeah. But he was asking that all the things should be in another test folder. Cause
That's
maybe,
preferable. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's preferable. And then you can actually we had that chat with him. I was asking how do you, because like when I'm working on a regular project, I tend to run all the micro tests, and I call micro tests the tests that are running on JVM for all the modules at once. So I may have, I don't know, thousands of tests, and I want to run them when I do some changes, when I'm test driving the code, and they run fast. If I include uh, the screenshot tests, which are also JVM tests, then it
mm,
runs much slower. And I was checking with him, how do you distinguish between the two, because there are different ways, right? And then how do you run only these ones while test driving your code? And
yeah,
yeah, the approach that you are just mentioning now is what he does. So you would move them into separate folder with specific suffix, and then in the Gradle configuration you can say run all the tests excluding these that are having this suffix.
yeah. Yeah, someone from the audience also asked this that at some point of time there will be hundred of cases, right? Hundred of previews will be there. So if you don't have a high-end machine, so it will be really, really, really slow for you to build anything.
Exactly.
So yeah, so Sergio told that he's not running every time for the specific changes or what he feels if needed, then only he's running those
Yeah.
previews.
Yeah. For the previous are not running that fast, like the screenshot tests,
Yeah.
but the regular ones they should. And
Yes.
yeah. Hi, Madeline. Hello, Rodrigo. How are you doing, guys?
Hello. Hello. Fine, good. How are you?
Doing fine.
Good.
We were discussing about screenshot tests and how we can differentiate. Like if you want to run your, like if you're test driving your code, you want to run your micro tests or the JVM tests all the time, and they are running fast. But if you have screenshot tests as well, then how can you avoid running them all the time because they run slower? Although they run fast enough, but also slow for test driving code. And probably you don't want to run your screenshot tests for when you're test driving your business logic. So probably the best solution I came to was what we were discussing, is to move the screenshot tests in a specific folder that is having some sort of suffix, and then in your Gradle command you can exclude them. You can exclude the whole folder with the suffix.
Hi, Drew. Hello. Yeah, nice.
Hello, Doc.
Yeah. Sorry, I was having network troubles. My VM was still on, but I could not RODP into my virtual machine.
No worries.
So yeah. So my conclusion is that since my project is not a multimodal yet, and he said part of the requirements for the paparazzi was the multimodal architecture, right? So
Yeah,
I'll just suspend that for now. Then when I migrate the project to multimodal, then I begin taking the screenshots.
yeah,
I'll be using the Android Studio, the default test in Android Studio for now.
yeah,
Then pending when I migrate to multimodal.
sure. And you can also look into the different, not only paparazzi, but you can also look into Roborazzi, and there is the one that comes from Android SDK itself. Forgot its name, but also like based screenshot based tests library. Okay, what are you guys working on? Anything interesting or challenging or something you wanna share? I can share something interesting yesterday that happened. Maybe you remember I made a post about a guy that got his first role as Android developer recently, and
Yeah.
like starting as an Android developer is one thing, but working in the role is like challenging, as you may know. And he encountered a problem, so he came up asking for an advice. And I would like to show you, maybe to share with you what is the challenge that he was having. And I came with a solution, but let's discuss. Maybe you're gonna have better way. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully, it's gonna be interesting. So,
Yeah.
I think here I do have the changes. Yeah. So here I mean the project that we are using. I use that one to build what he wants and or what he needed to build, and I just called that screen instead of our regular welcome screen. So I'm just gonna run the application here. So the issue that he had was pretty much straightforward because they were not. They're a team actually. It's not. He's not working alone, but they were not storing the state properly. So they had issue. For example, if you open this first screen, this info button on the top should open a bottom sheet.
Can you share your screen, please?
Oh, thank you, guys. Please tell these things. I was not sharing. Cool. Okay. So back to the square one. What I was mentioning is we have a regular welcome screen, but instead of that one, I just commented it out and I'm calling this new composable new screen that I created. And this is how it looks like. This is on an emulator. So the question was, or the issue that they were having is this info button, like when you just launch the application, this info button should show a bottom sheet that looks like that. And it was not appearing for them. And yeah, this could be like some scrollable whatever. And if you swipe between these two, also it is not working. But if you just tap, then click, it works. So that was one of the issue. And the second issue was like remembering what is the selected item. So like you can go to any of these tabs and then select an item. You see the selection is like making it a little bit more orange. I didn't get the exact colors, but you get the idea. And then I didn't spend like a lot of time on this, perhaps maybe 3 hours. So what's missing is actually completing this graph. So when you select something, it should redraw this row here where the certificate is, the last div and this left value, and also draw something on the graph, and then also changing the periods here. Oops. So yeah, I didn't spend much time because the first issue that they were having was why this bottom sheet is not showing, and basically the problem was in keeping the state. So they are not storing state in a view model or something. They are just storing it locally in the composable, which is okay. For the bottom sheet, you don't need to store it in a view model. Like you don't have to. I mean, it's up to you whether you want to preserve the sheet being opened across configuration changes or not. If that's the case, then probably you want to store it in the view model. But otherwise, like if you just dismiss it on configuration change, it's okay. And also like which tab is selected. That one I also store locally. Like I don't store it in the view model, at least for this case here. And I did not understand anything about the numbers or the logic behind. So what should be drawn based on which numbers? But yeah, the approach that I took. So maybe we can look into this together. And what I would, I mean, if you have any questions or maybe remarks or something that you would do differently or better, just let me know. Like unmute yourself and then talk. It's okay. So first, I mean, usually what I want to do is have a what I call bridging composables that does the gluing between the view model and the actual content on the screen, where I collect the state. Um, in this case, I launched I made a side effect to initiate the initial load of the data. There are different approaches. And then I call my screen content. Why do I do this approach is because I want to also be able to call this function standalone just by passing different states, so I can see different previews based on the state. Then yeah, as I mentioned, I keep the information about the bottom sheet being opened here. And on their side, the issue was that this one was basically interfering with the position of the which tab is opened, and that's why it was not working basically.
I would prefer to keep the state of the bottom sheet in the view model.
Yeah, right. Yeah, go ahead, Shofak.
No.
So here I didn't get it about this switching between the tabs and the bottom sheet.
Sorry, once again.
As you said that the bottom sheet state, right, after clicking on the info,
Mm-hmm.
it should remember the state. And what is the relation between the switching between tabs and this bottom sheet?
Yeah, so there shouldn't be relation, but on their side, the issue was that if you are on the first tab, the info, like clicking on the info, was not triggering the bottom sheet to open. And the problem was that it was interfering with this, basically the pager state, and they were having some additional logic. I did not understand the reason why, but they had like remember page 1, remember page 2. I don't know. I don't know. So back to Udaki, I agree. So if you want to preserve the bottom sheet being open across configuration changes, definitely you have to hoist that state in the view model. So like we can make it part of this screen state basically.
Yeah, as a flag. Because if you rotate your screen now, this remember savable state is not going to survive.
Correct. Yes.
It's going to have an issue. I think there is a remember for this to persist data across configuration change. For this remember, I think it's remember savable state, something like that.
I don't think it's gonna store the state over recomposition, the remember savable.
I think it does. You can try it out and see.
With recomposition?
But
I think, yeah, I'm pretty certain it won't, but let's try.
let's try and see.
So this might preserve the state if I change configuration like theme, for example. But let's try actually.
Yeah, same on screen orientation.
I think it won't survive the screen orientation. Only it survives the recomposition.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think as well. So if it recomposes, so yeah, let's open it and then change the orientation.
Change orientation.
Ah, it does. Okay.
It survives, yeah. So I
Okay.
think that's the difference between remember and remember savable states. But me, I don't like putting my business logic in my UI. I try to as much as possible. I don't like putting states, giving states over to the UI. I like leaving the state in the V model, then manipulating it in that V model instead of manipulating it in the UI itself.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
prefer it that way. It's more cleaner that way.
Yeah, definitely.
But I've had an issue like this before.
Yeah, as of like the bottom sheet, it's more like, I don't know. Is it a misbehavior if it gets closed while changing orientation? It depends. I think, in my opinion, but of course I might be wrong because it depends from one to another project. If you are entering data inside the bottom sheet, it would be really bad experience if you just get dismissed and clear everything. But if
Very
it
bad.
shows some information, you can reopen it.
By the way I look at bottom sheets, because the job of a bottom sheet is just to concentrate because it blocks you out from doing any other thing on the UI. It brings your attention to what is inside the bottom sheet at that point. So I think if it goes off during configuration change, it's kind of a bad thing because but the design of bottom sheet is to cut off every other interaction from the screen and just focus on what is on that bottom sheet. So going off during configuration change, I think is a really bad user experience for my own end,
Yeah.
due to the way it was designed. If it's a dialogue, I think a dialogue could be okay, but bottom sheets, it's very very important.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Different opinion, of course. Always welcome. So yeah, but anyway, I think the way to go is either to store it in the view model, and then you can actually you can manipulate it over it, and also I think by storing it inside the state, you are having a way to actually set it to open so that like you can make a preview out of it. Then next we have the tab row, these two tabs. There is no divider between them, and the indicator is just this orange line below it. So nothing too crazy about it. The colors are hard coded, of course. This is not a design that we're having in our team. It was just I just got a picture, like a screenshot, and I was like, could you help me with this? So we got two tabs. Not a good idea to have the text hard coded, of course. Should be coming from the strings. But yeah, the selected is based on the current page of the state of the pager, and then we share because like we remember the pager state here on top, and then we pass down. We use the same for the horizontal pager because basically these two are scrolling horizontally, or like we can tap. And by the way, we can disable user scrolling between them here. You can say what was the name of the argument? User scroll enabled. By default, it is true. We can make it false, and then the swiping between them, it's not gonna work. Only the clicks on the tabs is gonna work.
Oh, okay. That's actually cool.
Yeah, yeah. There are sometimes the need that there is the need that you don't want to make it swipeable between. What else here?
That is why I
Something.
tell.
Sorry?
That is why I tell people to move to comp. I said that's why I tell people to move to compose. See how pager indicator is. See how the pager UI component is easy to implement. If it were XML, when you write the terms,
Definitely.
write your adapters. Oh god.
Definitely. I
I
do
don't know why
agree.
some people don't want to go away from the XML view till now. I don't just know why.
Yeah. And then yeah, just having the horizontal pager has two pages. The I don't know, we call this 10 rounds page because it is 10 rounds tab name on the top, and then the year page on, on the right hand side. But I mean, it made it simple to say like this is the first page, this is the second page. What you render inside, you can decide on your own. And finally, I have this if that shows the bottom sheet.
Okay.
It's just a wrapper function on a model bottom sheet. Internally,
Model button.
sorry?
You can also move that. Okay. If you feel like leaving the states in the UI, it's still okay.
Yeah. But definitely, like as we discussed, would be nicer if we can just. And by the way, to make it like by default, it has this handle here that looks like a little, like this one on the bottom, that is
Okay.
this line, horizontal line. But you can change it because it's composable. So I just put the X and the text in there.
Yeah, it's a composable. You can also put another composable inside.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. That's true. That's
it's
true.
kind
That's
of
true.
cool.
So the X and the writing at the top, they're composable on their own that are being imported that you designed and put inside the bottom sheet, right?
Yeah, that's how it was designed basically. Um, if I open interactive mode here, yeah,
Exactly.
we
Yeah.
can well there is one problematic case here. If the text is too long, because like it has to be in the center, and if you put everything in a row, then this X will push a little bit to the left.
Okay.
So what we can do is we can make the items inside wrap content, and then we can say alignment per item. We can say on the text, for example, on this one, to align in the center, the icon to align to the right, similar to what we do with the box. But when we have a box, the issue is that if this is too long, it's gonna go underneath the X. So something too long to try. So yeah, I have to, oops, a bit more text here. Yeah.
Okay, now I see.
So like that's why testing is important, right?
Yeah.
What we could do, we could actually make this one to go something like max lines 1, and we can say something like overflow to be ellipsis, and then it's gonna add 3 dots at the end. But again, this will go underneath the X. To prevent, I think we can put this in a row, let's say, which is gonna be fill max width and then padding, and then this one's gonna have alignment center horizontally.
Horizontally.
Um,
Why is it plugging you?
this is interesting. Which alignment is this? So alignment, alignment vertical. Ha, okay. So probably it would be better if this was, no, yeah. So if I do something like here, horizontal arrangement, center, then it would not, it would put both of them in the, like one next to another. And let's see then, what we can do next. Another thing is, because we don't have arrange here, we can make this one to be weight 1F. It's gonna take the whole, like majority of the space. And then this one, let's just, oops, just comment out the modifier for now. Okay, so the row should have also vertical alignment to put both of them in the middle. Now that's better. But I think if I remove all this long text, then I also need to have text align center. So yeah, there is a little bit, you see this X pushes a little bit to the left. And because X is always there, like for sure it will be there, we could add padding of the same size inside the text, or just a spacer on this side that's gonna be of a specific width. And this one is, well, we don't have specific size, but if we put size on a modifier, then we can use the same size here, like let's say 32 dp, I don't know. And that's gonna make it in the middle again. And the overflow is not gonna be there. But again, those are detailed, just, you know, playing with compose. And that was not the intention of this exercise anyway, so I just, let me undo. Oops. Yeah. As of the pages, I think there is like pretty much the same content is there. We can just look into one of those. I just started with, like, everything is in a column. First is the first row here with the data. These like 3 sections, sort to say. This certificate thingy, because if I scroll, can I? Yeah, if I scroll between the pages, it's basically the same thing. So only the first 2 are changing. I can just pass down those 2 values. Again, it is hard coded here because I don't know what was the calculations behind. I just got some screenshots. And anyway, it just renders those that way. Then I have this graph. I started working on it, but I didn't finish. It was like a good exercise to maybe finish it, but yeah, I gave myself up to 3 hours for this. But it would be nice to work
What
on it.
library are you using for the graph?
Sorry?
What library did you use for the graph?
No library, just surface, and then you can draw
No
on the
library?
surface. No library. So look
Wow.
how easy it is. This is astonishing actually. So I just created a box of specific height,
Okay.
and it is max width, and then inside it I just have a canvas that fills the max width, the max size of the parent, which is of this box. Now inside we have size of the canvas, and by having the size we have the exact width and height which is available for us to draw. And what it means is you can use it as like coordinating system, and then you can put dots, you can draw lines, you can do whatever you want inside. So for example, I pass there like these x values is what I get here in these rows, like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. These rows in the list are what I'm passing there, and then as values, like from there I am taking a property which is period, which is this 17 June 2024, 2nd June 2024, and I'm dropping the last 5 characters. So I end up only with like 17 June and so on. It's for the sake of this drawing, right? Because it's gonna take too much space otherwise if I put the whole text. For the vertical values, I just create here a list that goes from 2 to 9 and map it to string. Then yeah, I just create a paint with a specific text, with a specific size. You can put here color, obviously, if you want. So like you can do whatever. You can customize the paint. But inside the canvas, you have functions that you can use to draw lines or draw things like that. So like you can draw text, you can draw line, and all you have to supply is like what you are gonna be drawing and where. So you can draw arc, you can draw circle. Those are functions you can use. So here I just loop through the values that I'm passing in there. In fact, through their indices, and then for each item I'll just take the item. I'll calculate the offset as to where I want to put it based on the index. So like there will be some spacing between them. And then just draw text. What's the text? Where on the x-axis do I want to put it? Where does it start? Where on the y-axis? So like I just use the whole height of the canvas, which is actually, maybe you can detect this color. I don't know how it looks on the screen share, but basically it has different color. So that's the actual height that we can use. And minus 20 means a little bit of spacing between the edge, the bottom edge. And so if I put this like minus 50, notice how everything's gonna go up. Come on, it's paused for what? Oh, here the comma. Yeah, did you notice how everything went up? Now it is like getting to the lines. If I put 100, it's gonna go even up, more up. So it was 20, I guess. And then I draw lines again for the same, like from the function says like what color do you want to use, and then where does it start, where you put coordinate x, y, and where does it end, also x, y. So in this case I start at the same offset plus 20 because like if the text is 40, I need to start in the middle of the text. And then I want to draw it all the way up. So that's in a for loop, and then it draws all of them. For the y values, the same thing. I just run through them, define what I'm gonna be drawing, where, and what paint I'm gonna use. So pretty easy, I would say, without libraries. But that's as far as I got. So this is not complete. And as for the other things, yeah, that was the graph. Period selection line is this, basically this button here, and this label, and this other disabled button on the right hand side. And finally, I have this lazy column, which has a sticky header for the titles, like what's where, and the actual items. And then I have the same happens in this page, basically. So for the preview, I don't pass any data. That's why everything's empty here. But yeah, like what I wanted to more or less show here was that I tend to put everything in like smaller composables that I can reuse across the
Yeah.
across the screen. It has in this case, like I have these pages, and those pages are having internally some additional things that are being used, like this period selection line, for example. It has this button, and that button is also something that is reusable. So I have period navigation button, which internally is a box that has just a border, which is this outline, and then an icon. And because it takes a modifier, I don't need to have two different ones, or like passing additional argument to make the right one, like to point the arrow to the right. I could, like, you see, that's why I love Compose. There are different ways you can achieve the same thing. I could pass a property that says which icon I'm gonna select here for drawing, just like I did with the enabled, where I'm picking a color. But because I have a modifier, what I can do is, wherever I'm calling this, I can say rotate 180. That's also a way to do it.
Oh, all right.
And this period selection line actually is just a row which has like button on the left, then text, and button on the right. And the text takes the whole like majority of the width, which we achieve by using the weight. And the rest is just size 32. You had a question?
Okay, but the rotates 180-degree. It turns that icon 180-degree, right?
Yeah.
So another way I could do this is also passing a lambda that could take a composable. So whatever icon I hear, just put it when I'm calling the function on it.
That's also possible. So I don't know, maybe this one's gonna break, for example, left to right. So I haven't tried that, for example.
Yeah.
It might break.
That's the way I will handle that scenario. I'll take in the composable lambda. Whenever I'm calling the function, I just pass in the composable icon.
Yeah. So this one can take an icon, but like if you want to make it reusable across, yeah, in this case it makes sense because we are having at least two things that can be drawn inside, like two different arrows. But when it's like one thing, then it might be, if it's not something that you are gonna be reusing anyway. But yeah, for this case it would be better. So what he meant for the rest, if somebody's not following, he's suggesting that here, instead of the arrow that we are hard coding, or maybe the whole icon, what we could do is we could take a content here that will be composable function, and
Yeah.
maybe we can make it nullable. No, it's gonna be, yeah, let's
I'll
make
make
it
it nullable.
mandatory. We can make it mandatory, and then here we can call the content and pass this one from the color side, basically. So here we can say content equals this, or like do it like that. And now, yeah, we'll have to figure out the color, but like in that case, it might be better if instead we take like we put here back the icon, but just take the vector. So either vector or drawable resource. And then whoever calls this can pass down a drawable resource. That's also possible. So maybe we can also achieve that with a lambda. No, I think we need different types. So let it be.
There's a way, wait, let me check. I've done something like this before. Let's see. Let me go through my code base. There's a way I made this nullable in my own case. Let me go. That was a while ago.
Yeah, it's just like allowing the caller, like you are making a slot for the caller to pass whatever they want. And then whatever they want, you are rendering inside your more generic like wrapper. In this case, this circle or square with rounded corners. So yeah, like also this line here, like this whole row is composable of its own, and then internally it just uses some of the like this list item.
So this is the way I used mine. I dropped it on the group chat. Yes.
It uses some primitives like row, column, text. This label.
I dropped something on the chat.
Yeah. If you want to make it nullable, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I wanted to say, this HCP label is the text and this arrow, which points to the bottom, to the top, or sidewise, and then it has different color. So it just wraps into a single composable that takes status and value. And based on the status, we draw that arrow, and the value is the value. But it's just, again, a composable that puts everything in a row, and it applies different tinting and rotation. Oh, here I can do that. So yeah, just smaller things, and then from the smaller things build bigger things. It's gonna be okay. But yeah, Compose is wonderful in that case. So anybody maybe would have been taken different approach, or having different perspective of, or yeah, anything you want to add or comment or critique. We are not taking the things personally here. I would say this fairly complex screen is not that simple.
Yeah. To me, it seems okay.
One question would be, what if you want to make what if you want to scroll like with the list? What if you want to push the content up, or maybe make it smaller or squeeze it in some sort of way? That might be interesting case that I've been thinking in a daemon thread in my head.
Some animation has to come in if you want to do that.
And act like a collapsible tool.
Yeah. So I've been preparing something like that, but for a different use case, not for this application. I wanted to write an article and also have an example of how Compose can optimize recompositions when we don't have to recompose something. Only when a value changes that changes the way something is drawn. It doesn't, because think about the three phases of Compose. First, it is the composition where it draw like it considers the tree, the object graph. Then is the layout phase where the measuring is happening and where the things are going to be positioned on the screen. And the third phase is the drawing. Now, if a value is when a value that changes rapidly causes lots of recompositions, that's not good. But if the thing that we are recomposing in that case, based on that value, doesn't change, it doesn't change the position on the tree, it just changes the sizes, we can skip the recomposition and directly focus on the layout and the drawing. So that is something that is optimization for Compose. And to show you an example, in fact, here, this thingy exactly here is that optimization. So the page count, now it is static, but if we had dynamic page size for the pager, it would cause the whole pager to recompose when it changes. And this way, with a lambda, when we provide the value through a lambda, we are skipping the recomposition. I wanted to show you an example where we have a list that has something on top, like a header. Then as you are scrolling the list, the header is gonna squeeze and it's gonna expand based on the scroll state. Like I think in today's call we are not gonna have time to do that, but would that be something interesting for you to take a look and how actually it works in the background? So maybe we can take a look at it at some of the next calls, because I'm anyway planning to write an article about it, but just checking if that's gonna be something interesting to work on.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
And by the way, guys, if there is something that you wanna see more of, like if you want us to put focus more on, I don't know, less on Compose, more on test-driven development, more on modularization, more on architecture, just let me know, so that we're gonna have a mixture of everything. Shafak, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to see how you are saving the position in that lazy con loop,
Position of what?
the selected item in the
Oh,
list.
I see. Yeah. So because this is a preview, I'm gonna stop the preview. I'm gonna show it on device. This is what you mean. So for example, the first one is
Yeah.
selected by default, and if I select something else, that one becomes selected. All right.
Yeah.
I keep that in the
To
state.
Right between that also, that state remains same zero. Yeah.
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 Yeah. It is stored. So I keep it in the state object. So in the state object, let me open it. Yeah. So here I have list for the first page and I have list for the second page. And for the first page, I have selected currently selected item. And for the second page, I also have currently selected item. Now, this is one way to do it. I'm going to tell you also like what would be another way to do it. So then you can choose, because I don't know. I wouldn't say this is better, this is worse. Both are equally fine. When we call this load data, I created an object where I have dumped some data, like for testing purposes, right? This is just object that generates the data for me. Then for the initially, I'm gonna update the state with just passing down the first list and the second list, and by default I make the first one selected for both of them. That's why when I run the application, the first one is selected, and here the first one is selected as well. Now on click, inside the screen, on click I propagate the call of the selected thing, the click thing, up to these two functions. And as you can see, I wrote here like a to-do. Based on the selection, we have to probably do some calculations to change the data for the graph. I still haven't figured that out because, as I mentioned, I just got some screenshots as to how the application should look like. But yeah, and here I just update the state with the currently selected item. Does it answer the question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Another way to do it would have been, we have this course data item, which is the pure data that comes from backend, let's say. We can have additional data class that's gonna be, let's say, course data item UI model, which will have, yeah, if you have a question, just shoot. Don't have to raise a hand.
No, just by mistake.
Okay.
Please continue.
You can have the course data item, which is course data item, and then you can say is selected boolean false. By default it is false. And then instead of this here, you could have a list of this new UI model, like course UI model. And then you no longer need this because you are gonna keep the selected inside here. But this way, you have a little bit more to maintain, because this way multiple items in the list can be selected. For multiple items in the list, this can be true. So when selection happens, you have to loop through the list to find all, like to reset all, and then make selected only the one that you have clicked.
To make other calls and
Yeah.
specific.
If the list is not big, it's okay. It's not that much of a problem. So yeah, those are the ways that come to my mind right now. Probably there are more ways if you want to optimize, but yeah, it is just okay. Works fine.
Generally, for the list, I usually that to take the second approach most people. In recycler view also, in traditional way.
Yeah.
But the first approach seems better because in the case of a lot of item in the list, we have to loop again and again.
Yeah. That's right. Cool. Okay. Any questions or any comments for today's session? All right.
Hello.
Hello.
Sure.
Hi,
Sorry,
Manu.
I just have one question about.
Yeah.
Happy to be here because sometimes I cannot be here. So I think this is my first time.
You're welcome anytime. Thanks for
I
joining.
just one question, but not about this. Is only about if you're gonna maybe someday talk about there is like a new way to use the compose runtime that you can use like in the view model, like composable functions, like to use the compose runtime.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's called circle or circular. I don't know. I don't remember right now.
Circle, yeah, correct. It is a library from Slack, the Slack
From
team
Slack,
create.
right?
Yeah.
But I think that's only too new for that. Just to know if you're gonna talk about someday, like maybe the next week or something, or if it's not important, it's okay. But just to chat about a little bit.
Definitely. Look, any nice technology that might be helpful is worth talking about, regardless whether we are going to use it or not, right? It's just to bring awareness for people, because each application is different, and if it doesn't solve problem here, it might solve a problem at your place, right? So bringing awareness. So thanks for actually sharing this or bringing this up. Having awareness of these things is very important, I would say. And yeah, Circle is not new library. It's a library that was created. I think they started with it. I will tell you now. Last year at the Kotlin Conf, it was happening here in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, and I heard about it the first time there. There were two people from Slack talking about it. One is GDE. Forgot his name, but he also is big contributor in Moshi. I keep forgetting his name, but well-known guy in the Android community.
I knew about this because I was looking at the IV Wallet app,
Mhm.
that is an open source app, and they are using that approach.
Yeah,
So when I saw that, I was like, okay, what is this? So yeah, so I started to look some videos, and I don't know if other people are using it, but I don't found too much like talks about it, just to know,
yeah,
yeah, the mindset of some people.
yeah. Yeah, that's one, and another one similar to that is Molecule from Square. I mean, it is not exactly the same, but you can say that they share similar paradigm.
Okay.
Yeah, so where you can actually make your view model, or what they call presenter, as a composable. Yeah,
It's weird because everyone are using right now like mostly the flows and mutable state in the body in the screen, of course. No, in the view model, all the view model is like only states and flows, or in the worst case, the live data, right?
yeah, yeah,
So it's just some new stuff. They are saying that it's like very optimal stuff to do it like composable because it's like less boilerplate or whatever. But I don't know if that is true for some people. It's like it's a little bit chat that we need to have about that.
yeah. I definitely agree. And thanks for bringing this. We are missing such questions and such collaboration in this community, and I really appreciate that you are bringing this up. Thank you.
No, thank you to you to do all the work that you are doing all the time.
Okay, yeah, this is joyful for me. Okay, if there are any other questions, comments, we can close this, and I'll catch you, some of you tomorrow in the pro membership call, some of you next week, um, in the same call, like this one. Cool.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks to you guys. See you next week. Shafak, see you in the next call.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sure.
Let's jump there. Cheers, guys.
All right, Joe.
Bye bye.
Bye.
See you.
Yeah.